Last year, the Cape Ann Mass in Motion group hosted some community forums on Cape Ann's bike friendliness. Recently, they've completed a report from these forums, and with us today is Jennifer Donnelly, who is going to share the results. Jennifer, how bike friendly is Cape Ann?
Well, first, thanks for having me on today. I'm happy to talk about this topic. Last fall, our group started some work to assess, bike-friendly communities, and we hosted 4 virtual community forums. We also had a survey that went out, and a mapping portion of that survey where people could, put down where in their community they saw as a barrier to biking, where they're wanting to bike, where they currently bike. And we found that while we have some great things going on here in Cape Ann, there's also room for improvement to make things even better for both residents and also for those that visit the region as well.
Mm. Yeah, I have to say that I find the biking on 127 kind of tricky with all that traffic, right?
Yes, that is an area that came up a lot in feedback. In addition to the forums and surveys, people did also contact me directly to provide feedback on certain things as well. And the 127 area, both from the Bev- in Manchester, going from Beverly to Manchester, going from Manchester to Gloucester, and then also our section of Gloucester to Rockport, people really complained a lot about. That, as we all know, is a state road, and it's something that I am working with my technical advisor for my grant to see if we can maybe start some dialogue with Mass DOT to start looking at some of these concerns that people have. I think one of the nice features of our 4 communities is that although we're all unique, we're very connected to each other in some fashion. And having accessible roadways for everybody to easily get from one community to another is really important. And so, especially for people that are living along or traveling along the 127 area, it's really, really not safe. So we want to
Right.
see what we can advocate for on a statewide level to see about improvements to that
And
section.
I'll add one more piece. It's really tough for parents who want to see their kids out on their bikes,
Oh, yes.
learning how to bike to school. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
that's a kind of life that we wanted, but it was pretty tough when my kids were little to send them out on a bike.
Sure, and it still is. That's something that came up a lot as well. Parents who, while their children would relish the freedom that comes from having a bike and taking off, the parents are really anxious about allowing their kids to do that because of safety concerns. And one of the other things I would note too that we have some involvement with is safe routes to school. And that's a statewide program that provides free technical assistance and resources to help increase rates of walking and biking to school. And they are actively doing some work not only in Gloucester, but also with the Manchester Essex School District as well. And we're looking at ways that we can make improvements in our communities so more kids can get to school that way. It also Related to this is school attendance rates. And we know during the pandemic, school was kind of all over the place, it seems. But for the days that kids had to go in person, some people were not able to do that because of bus fees. So having safe, equitable walking, biking opportunities makes it so, students who maybe aren't able to take a bus can get to school safely. Their parents can feel more at ease with that. So,
And what makes that a little more complicated is that most of the schools here are surrounded by state roads. So I was going to ask, are you dealing mostly with local municipalities at this point? And is there a plan to somehow work directly with the state?
Sure. So it does get tricky for us because we, as you just said, we have a lot of state roads that really are in these heavily traveled areas that we all use. So a lot of our work focuses on our local community. What can we advocate for? What can we help? What kind of policies, systems, environmental changes can we help get going to make it so Gloucester, Rockport, Manchester, Essex is more walkable, bikeable? Then part of our work also, because we are connected statewide, and we do have access to assistance through other groups, we do spend some time trying to connect with people on the state level. Hey, come take a look at 127. What can we do here? Can we start a dialogue? I know, through my process in working on this, I've learned that in years past, there was some work done by the state looking at sections of 127 to see if there could be something could be addressed. That was kind of shelved. I don't know the history of that, but that's something that I want to kind of revisit and say, hey, can we come back and take a look at this? I think, especially too, I've heard a lot of people talking about traffic issues, especially now we're getting into summertime soon, and getting more cars off the road and more people walking and biking just makes for a healthier community overall. So walking, biking, not just only beneficial for us and our own personal health, but the health of our community, the health of the environment. So that's all stuff that kind of goes along with this work.
Do you see other similar communities doing this really well, Jennifer?
There's a lot of bike work going on the North Shore currently. The community that I live in has been very active in adding bike lanes, of having a bike committee. They're just really throughout the whole state. If you look down into other areas on the South Shore, people are working on, different bike lanes. In the central and western part of the Mass, there's work going on bike corridors and rail trails. So a lot of communities are really finding that when we make these kind of improvements, it's also an economic benefit to the community. There's a lot of data that suggests that when you make a community more walkable and bikeable, those people are the ones that are spending money in your stores, in your restaurants. And so it's bringing an influx of revenue into the community that may otherwise not have been there. So I do see that as another benefit as well for our region.
And Jennifer, are you usually focusing on roadways or on off-road as well? Like bike
Off,
paths and
yeah. Oh, yeah. So our survey actually, one of the things that people most would love to see in terms of improvements is actually on multi-use paths. So people in our region would love for the communities to be connected to each other through off-road multi-use paths. So you'd probably think of like the Cape Cod trail, or if you go, I'm just trying to think offhand, just some, our Danvers Rail Trail, which is pretty nearby us. So things like that that are connecting from one community to the other. So you have destinations that you can easily get to via a bike or walking on the path instead of having to take your car. So that's part of this work.
Jennifer, if people want to learn more about Cape Ann Mass in Motion, how can they go about doing that?
Sure. So I work out of the Gloucester Health Department. I'm there part-time, and they can always feel free to reach out to me. I say email is best, or they could call the health department to get in touch with me that way. But they can always email me. It's the letter J, Donnelly, Donnelly at Gloucester ma.gov, and feel free to contact me anytime with questions, or if you have feedback on any of these kind of projects, I'd love to hear it. We always want to get more community voices involved in this work.
Well, we look forward to really beautiful, safer biking on Cape Ann.
Yes, me too. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks.